Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so glad all of you are here. This is Mick. For those of you who don't know me, Mick Karshner. I'm out in Meridian, Idaho, and I am the one that started this crazy fancy diet and the fancy lifestyle that's brand new. We're getting lots of results from it already in just a short time. And so thank you for hopping on here this morning. Um, Please have any questions that you want to ask written down. And then Carrie, my friend Carrie here, is going to help me today. And Carrie, I've known her for a long time. She's from Colorado, and she's a mom and a grandma and a wife and an animal lover, and she's really into health and wellness. So when she saw this, she thought, I want to take my health to a new level in 2023. I'm going to participate in this. So thank you so much, Carrie, for hopping on and helping me do this, because this old boy isn't all that tech savvy on this kind of stuff.
All good. I love it. Thanks for
So
having me. Appreciate it.
yeah, I appreciate you very much. And so I'm going to give just a quick, like an overview of how did FANSC start? Where did it originate from? And then why is it called FANSC and those type of things? So I'm going to give a brief overview of that. And then after that, we're going to have the Q&A. And so for the Q&A, to make it orderly and so we can do this in a timely fashion, is you'll just want to go down to the chat and then type in your question. And then Carrie is going to see what you wrote, and she's going to read it out loud with your name. And then I can answer. And that way we can get through this really quick, because this is a brand new, what is it, just over a week young concept with the FANSC lifestyle protocol. And so there's a lot of questions, and
Yep.
we want to get through as many as we can. And our goal is to finish this in 1 hour. So once again, thank you for being on here. And you know what? I'm a believer, so I'm going to bless this meeting real quick, and then we'll get started. Heavenly Father, I thank you for this glorious day that you provided us with. And I thank you for every person that's watching this or listening to this. And I just pray that you would heal their bodies with the FANSC diet protocol that you laid on my heart. And I just speak this in your mighty name, in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
All righty. That's a sure way to success right there, you guys, by the way. Okay. So the purpose of this meeting is going to be the FANSC story. How did this crazy thing start? And then answering questions, because I know there's a bunch of them. So the way it started was actually, I recently assumed a new role in a position as a MC, and I'm going to be like the guy on stage being the MC with the microphone in this big bass tournament organization. So those of you that know me know I'm like crazy passionate about bass fishing and doing tournaments. Well, it came out of the blue to me. A huge surprise when I got the call and they said, would you be the MC? We think you'd be the perfect guy for the position. And so I, of course, said yes. And this was during the summer. And then as time goes on, we've had all these meetings. And now I'm like, it's in a couple of weeks, my first one. And I'm getting a little bit, antsy here. But back in early December, I looked at myself in the mirror and I'm like, man, you got to get yourself in better shape. If you're going to be representing this organization on national television in front of 50 million households, and your face is the face of this thing, you got to step your game up, Mick. And so it was December 11th. That's an important day. That's the day that I woke up for 2 months. I mean, deep diving, immersing myself in these doctors, Dr. Kinberry, Dr. Chaffee, and these people that are just like, the masters at eating this carnivore diet. And I was just immersing myself in their content. And the deeper I dug into it, the more sense it made to me. And so when I got up on December 11th, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm starting today. This is it. So I started what I call the FANSC diet. And so I took what these doctors had created And I read all of the thousands of testimonials from their patients that had been healed. I'm talking completely healed from diabetes, from autoimmune diseases, just about anything you can think in your mind, arthritis, all these things, they'd been healed. And it wasn't the doctor saying it, it was their patients. And I was like, my gosh, there's something to this. And so I looked at their protocol, and their protocol was meat, water, and salt for the rest of your life. And I'm like, I got my dream coffee cup up this morning. I'm going to drink my coffee. Okay. Mick's still going to drink his coffee. He's still going to take his NCT. And so I was like, I'm still going to eat my bacon and eggs and my Kerrygold grass-fed butter. So I'm like, that's too much for me. It's too strict. And so I thought, what if I just took what they have done and I modified it a little bit and made it my own, and then try it for 30 days and see what happens. So on December 11th was the first day I started following FANSC: fatty meats, alkaline water, NCT, coffee, and salt. That's it. And so I did that for 30 days, and the results have been staggering. Like 23 pounds gone off me. I've got abs starting to show. My allergies, a 40-year chronic allergies. I've been to hypnotized, acupuncture, shots, every medication they ever made. For 40 years, I've been suffering from allergies. Burning, bloodshot eyes, sneezing 20 times every morning, and blowing my nose 30 times a day for my whole life. In 30 days, less than 30, like 3 weeks, completely healed. I've never blown my nose since I started FANSC, not one time. You guys get this? So I immediately knew I was onto something. And so it was on the 21st of December, Vicki and the kids and I rented an Airbnb in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. We were on a family Christmas vacation. And on the 21st, we woke up and the weather there said it was -15 or something. And they said, do not go outside for longer than 10 minutes or you could get frostbite or something. We're like, oh, okay, I guess we're going to build a fire and sit in the house all day under blankies and our PJs, you know? And so that's exactly what happened. I was sitting there. So this was on the 21st. So that was 10 days of me doing FANSC before it was even FANSC. Okay. And I was already getting results, positive results. And so we're in Airbnb, and all as I could find to write on was this old napkin, like just a paper napkin. And I started writing all the things: bacon, eggs, butter, beef, NCT, water, fish, deer, venison, all these things on here. And then I wrote all the letters across the top. And then I started trying to put together a word with it to call it something. And I was like, nothing sounded right, nothing sounded right. And then right in the middle, you can see I nailed it. And I'm like, FANSC, it's the FANSC diet. So I'm getting the chills because it was totally a God thing. Like, I remember I was sitting there, the snow's coming down, and I had the blankie over me and my coffee, and Vicki was sitting over here doing some veterinary medicine studying. And I was writing, she said, what are you writing on that napkin? And she was like, oh, okay. And then I'm like, Bunny, FANSC. It's FANSC. It's the FANSC diet. And by the way, just for the record, Vicki thinks I'm nuts. She's probably right. You know, her famous saying, like our whole marriage for 18 years when we're out in public, I always embarrass her because I'm kind of goofy. And she'll just look at the people and go, mine, all mine. Oh, but anyway, that's how this whole thing happened, was on a darn paper napkin. I made this modified version and the results have been staggering. So I think it's important to understand, how did this originate? Like, did it just fall out of thin air or did someone else do it? Now you're doing it. No, I invented the darn thing just by God, just putting it on my heart. Like there's something here to heal people, a new way to heal people in a way that's sustainable, because there's very few people in this world that are going to follow meat, water, and salt for the rest of their life. That's about as boring as it gets. When you look at what we have, there's a variety. You can have salmon, you can have shrimp, you can have lamb, you can have wild game, there's beef, bison, there's a good select chicken, bacon, eggs, and butter. The coffee, I think, is a big thing. A lot of people aren't giving this up, and Mick Karshner's one of them, and so I included it. But when you look at the hardcore carnivores, they're going to say, no, 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 cut out the coffee. You're not going to get good results. Well, I'm here to say that's not true. At least for me, I'm getting better every single day.
So,
and with all
sorry,
these things, excuse me.
Nick, I'm sorry. I just want to say, would you call this a modified carnivore diet then? Is that kind of what we're doing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted to be clear for people. So you guys can Google that, carnivore diet modified. There's keto carnivore. So you can, check it out. Mick's got a ton of resources in the chat. I just wanted to kind of clarify there.
Modified carnivore diet. Yes.
Yep.
So, okay. So as we get into the Q&A and all these questions, this is really important. So I want to get right into it. Keep in mind that the FANSC Lifestyle Protocol, that's the featured post in the FANSC Lifestyle group, that's an outline, okay? We are not here for perfection. We're here to make progress, okay? So if you look at that thing, you're like, oh crap, I ate broccoli and scalloped potatoes yesterday. That's okay. That's okay. Now, when you eat scalloped potatoes every day, that's a problem. But I had to put the outline there because the outline is no longer based off of theory. The outline is now based off of application. You've got a guy that did it strictly for 30 days, exactly FANSC, without deviating from it. And the results are staggering in a positive way. And so just don't think you have to do this perfect. Don't look at that and go, oh, I can't do this because I like to have XYZ. Every Sunday, my family has cheesecake after dinner. Have your darn cheesecake. Okay. I'm just saying this is what happened to Mick Karshner, but that doesn't mean that that's going to be your jam. I like to use that. Find your jam. Somebody said, Mick, can I do this but not drink coffee? Absolutely. That's fine. The coffee's not mandatory. The coffee is just something that many people won't give up. So if there was no coffee included in this, a lot of people, I ain't doing that because I'm drinking my coffee. So just think of it as an outline. And then it's also important to remember that on FANSC, we're never hungry. Never hungry. If you're hungry, if you're like, I'm on that FANSC and I'm starving, you're doing it wrong. Anytime you're hungry, you eat. And you eat off the list under the fatty foods, the F in FANSC. That's the F. Eat when you're hungry. If you're not hungry, don't eat. Meaning, let's say it's 6 p.m. at night, you're like, it's dinner time at the Karshner house. Everyone's sitting down to dinner. If you're not hungry, don't eat. Don't eat just because it's dinner time. It's hard. We got to kind of unlearn a little bit, because I don't know about y'all, but when I grew up, breakfast, lunch, dinner, 3 square meals a day. That's what I was taught. That's how I grew up. So this is very different. Sometimes I sit down at the table with the family and I've got a glass of ice water or a cup of coffee, and they're eating all their carbs and sugars and stuff. They're seeing daddy transform, but it hadn't quite hit all the way yet. But that's okay. That's okay. So I just sit there and we bless the meal and we have our family conversations, and I drink what I'm going to drink. Or like last night, I had like a 20-ounce ribeye that was just out of this world. Tonight, I think I'll have hamburger. But you can eat 1 meal a day. You can eat 10 meals a day. When I first started, I was on one. Every 24 hours I ate. 24 hours I ate. And I was walking 2 to 5 miles a day. Just walk, not running. I'm too old to run. I just walk. But it's the consistent walking each day that adds up. That's a vital part of this. So when you follow the FANSC protocol, you've got to walk, or some of you are like, I run and I lift weights. God bless you. You're going to get even better results. But for me, walking is something sustainable. I can do it each day. I've got a dog, so I just go walk the dog. And that consistent activity each day, by being in our FANSC lifestyle group and encouraging one another, clapping for each other, giving people, you know, a lift up when you had a rough day. That's what this community is all about. So let's do this. I'm going to give a disclaimer first. I'm not by any means a medical professional. I barely graduated high school. Now, Vicky, yeah, big brains. That girl, she got the big brains. So I'm not giving any medical advice. I'm not giving any nutritional advice. What I'm simply doing with FANSC is sharing my personal experience of what worked for me in hopes that it would help to heal someone else. So I just wanted to put that out there. Now, let's start the Q&A. So in the chat, right in there and ask Carrie the question, and then she's going to read it out loud, and then I'm going to do my best to answer them. Okay.
Yeah.
Are we ready?
Yeah. And while we're gathering questions here, guys, can someone do a test question just so I'm not seeing any right now, and I'm sure there are lots of them, but just somebody type in something so I can make sure this is working. I said, good morning. Oh, good. Where did you find the exotic meats? Luke says.
The exotic meats.
Probably like your game, probably.
Luke, I have not actually eaten any wild game yet myself, just because I just haven't had access to any and I haven't sought any out. But I do know, like, our Albertsons marketplace here where I live in Meridian, they've got venison, they've got bison, they've got all different kind of stuff. I guess about the most exotic I had, and I wouldn't call it exotic, is lamb. I've had lamb chops maybe a half a dozen times in the past, what am I on, 34, 35 days. And I have to say it was really good, because I've never been a fan of lamb, to be honest with you, but I got some at Albertsons and I just did it in that air fryer and had it medium rare, just with the Redmond real salt.
Yep.
And it was delicious. Like, I was shocked at how good it was. So that's about as far as I've taken it so far.
Yeah, me too. I haven't eaten anything really exotic, and I'm not a meat eater, guys. So this was just an experiment for me. But you know what? I'm 55 and my dad died at 55, and I don't want to die and I don't want to be on statins. And so I too did some research. So come up with your why you want to do this, and then make it easy for yourself. You know, I don't eat pork, so no big deal, right? So again, I think it's really cool to figure out why you want to do this. What's your purpose behind it? Because that's going to make you stronger and more adaptable with this whole thing, because it is a life change, you know, and you can do it gradually. I've got some more questions here. Let's see. RR says, who are the doctors that have medical information about the diet? Is it safe for a person without a gallbladder to process fat? And again, we're not giving medical advice. We'll just point, guide, and direct, I think, right?
Point to the docs. Yeah. RR, great question. My two favorites that I follow, well, number one for me is Dr. Ken Berry. And if you go to YouTube and just search Dr. Ken Berry Carnivore, man, he's got every answer to every question you could ever have about eating this way. If you go on his YouTube channel and at the top, click the search bar and type in whatever, arthritis, whatever you want to know, gallbladder, he'll have an answer in there. He's just a wealth of information. And then for you guys that are like buff and lifting weights and Hulk and like that, Anthony Chaffee, MD. He's like a beast bodybuilder. Good looking dude, young, just, and all as he does is just eats meat. He's been doing it for 6 years. And he's like the epitome, the picture of perfect health and fitness. There is no doubt that this way of eating and this lifestyle makes you healthier. I mean, the deeper you get into it, you'll see what I mean.
Yeah.
Great question.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
No.
And maybe what we could do too is we could put together some resources and just push them out after this call so people can, like you have some really great links to these 4 doctors that we follow. And so we can put that maybe under like highlights. So
I've got a good answer for that, Carrie. That brings up a good teaching point here. Within the healthy lifestyle group, if you go to the search bar in the group and put #doctors, it will bring you right to the doctors.
Perfect.
And that actually goes for anything. If you're like, I don't know what to cook, #recipes. I don't know, how much water should I drink? #water. It'll bring up, it's a very fast way, efficient way for you to get answers very quickly. Or what's happening to people that are using this fancy so far? #testimonials will bring you right to the testimonials.
Couple of more questions here. Luke, I'm a foodie. What about seasoning? Any seasonings we should shy away from? And then somebody asked about barbecue. So I have an answer for that, but go ahead, and Mick, go ahead. You go ahead and answer that.
I have stayed true to, that's the only thing I've ever put on chicken, beef, salmon, anything I eat is the Redmond real salt. And I have to say, I've been the guy before that when I do my steaks, I'd put on the Montreal steak seasoning and all these different rubs. And I prefer this now better than any of those. But the way this thing originated was for people that had really serious autoimmune diseases. And what they had to, this was called an elimination diet. So all as they put in their body was water, salt, and meat, beef. That's it. And then once they healed and they're like, oh my gosh, I feel good again. They started adding things back one at a time. So they might add, pepper, or, hey, that didn't affect me. I still feel fantastic. Okay, I can have pepper. Now today I'm going to add an apple. Okay, the apple didn't affect me. Now I added this. Oh, and now they're just feeling like crap. They've identified a food. So on the seasonings part, there are people that are having a lot of their health problems because of the seasoning they're putting on their stuff. So I hope that kind of helps you to understand.
Yeah, and I asked the same question when I started. I'm like, I don't think I can handle no seasonings. And so I kind of looked, and again, I kind of did a gradual while I was waiting for NCT capsules. I did a gradual kind of tapering off. And what I did was I looked at sugar and carbs on any condiments and any seasonings. Because again, a lot of seasonings like rubs have sugar. And again, sugar, I mean, if you think about this, sugar and carbs, keep them as low as possible. And, that's a great way, but you really got to be an expert label reader, and it isn't hard to find things that are healthier. So again, it's relative. I know it's a big change for people. I did go and buy, like, I went to Whole Foods and got a buffalo sauce that was 0 carb, 0 sugar, right? Because I just wanted to transition slowly, and I was making wings, so I wanted to try that. So again, I think it's about not being perfect, but being cognizant of what you're putting in your body. Reading the label. Go into your condiments right now in your fridge. You will be shocked at the sugar in there.
Bacon. I went shopping for bacon because we were low on bacon. I had to look through like 8 different bacons before I found one with no sugar in it. Almost all of them had sugar, especially the name brands, Oscar Mayer or Hillshire Farm. They all had sugar. Same thing with beef jerky. Jerky is a really good snack for this diet. Let's say you're traveling, road trip, and you're like, man, I need to put something in my stomach. Jerky is really good, but once again, flip that thing over and a lot of the jerky has sugar in it. So find one that says 0 carb, 0 sugar.
Yeah, and I think as you guys find like a good jerky like that, share with the group. I mean, we're all learning, and I've been wandering around Whole Foods and natural grocers, just investigating things. So as you find something good, just share it,
Like Bridgeford pepperoni.
Yeah.
Bridgeford pepperoni, 0 carb, 0 sugar.
Okay.
So I've got those in my pickup truck. I got some here on my desk. I got some in the pantry. I've always got some Bridgeford pepperoni.
Yep. Okay, so a couple questions here. How do you handle not having fiber in your diet? That is from, I think it's from Robin. Let me see. RR. How do you handle not having fiber in your diet?
Hey, Robin, good question. I've eaten fiber my whole life, and okay, we're family here, so I'm going to just talk like we're family. When you eat a lot of fiber, you poop a lot, big poops, because your body uses very little of it. We put it in our mouth, it goes through our system, and it comes out the other end. That's why you have a lot of volume and, big poo-poos. And because our body doesn't actually absorb it and use it, it just goes through. Where on the FANSC diet, what we're eating, our body uses 90–95% of it. So we go from pooping every day, twice a day, to once every other day, once a day, once every 4 days, because there's nothing to get out of us, because our body used it to heal and build our muscles and our cells. So it takes a little bit of adapting. And yesterday I put something in the group about side effect. I put hashtag side effects and hashtag getting started on that post. So if you just search those, it'll go right to it. And it was talking about how our stomachs and the bile inside of them, it takes a little while to adapt. If I'm eating a heavy carb sugar diet for all these years, and then all of a sudden I just stop and go straight meat, 0 carb, 0 sugar, that can mess your stomach up and give you diarrhea and stuff for a few days or a couple weeks. And your body, your stomach has to adapt to the new things you're putting into it. Or a smarter approach, if you're like, man, I've been eating like crap for years, like fast food, just junk, I wouldn't even just go cold turkey fancy. I'd start to just eliminate carbs slowly. Yep. Until you get to fancy. And that way you're not gonna go through the diarrhea and all that kind of, or if you're like, I just want to get it over with and get a new roll of toilet paper at Costco, the bulk pack, and go for it.
Hey, I was sick the first couple of days, just kind of sick to my stomach. I think my body was kind of in shock. So I did have a little bit of like a whole grain roll. I felt like I needed to just not be so shocking to my system. So again, do what works for you. I have lost 7 pounds as of today, and I'm on day 5, and not being perfect. So
day 5, 7 pounds. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah. So
and it's more challenging for ladies too to
well,
lose
I know.
weight.
See, I saw your testimonial. I'm like, that's such a guy. Of course he lost.
You're like, that's just dumb. Becky hates me. She's like, ugh. I mean, 30 days ago, you had a bowling ball under your t-shirt, and now it's gone. You have a flat stomach. That's dumb.
Okay, so more questions, Mick. Is heavy cream and whipping cream the same thing for coffee? And that's from John. And by the way, I mentioned Robin. It's actually Roberta. So I'm sorry about that.
Oh, Roberta.
Yeah. But right. John says, is heavy cream and whipping cream the same thing for coffee? And again,
I don't think so. Is it? I don't know though.
I think it's different.
I don't know.
I think it's different. You could just read the label and check. Some lady might know here if you know the answer.
Fat is your friend. So you want the one whichever is the most fat.
Yeah. And it's 50 calories to not break a fast, you guys. I think that's the standard that I've been reading at least. So that is about a tablespoon of heavy cream will not break your fast. So if you're fasting on this, some people are going to be, as long as they can. And again, go gradual. You don't have to do the perfect Mick thing where you're not eating for 24 hours. I don't want you guys to have low energy and be sick. So work your way in, right, Mick? Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Luke said fat content is different between whipping cream and heavy cream. I think whipping cream can also have a little more sugar. I'm not positive on that. Roberta's asking about what is in the NCT.
The NCT, that's a great question, Roberta. That's kind of our secret weapon to this that a lot of these other diets do not have. And the reason is, well, it's kind of multifaceted. Number one, most of our decisions of what we put in our mouth, it's psychological,
Mhm.
if not all of it. Like in our brain telling us, ooh, eat that Snickers bar or don't eat that Snickers bar. So what NCT does, we take the 2 capsules immediately upon waking up on an empty stomach, and within 20 minutes, they start working. And it's twofold. There's nootropics in them, which is really good for our mental health and well-being, for our cognition, to feel positive and happy and not have, negative thoughts. So it works in the brain, the NCT, but it also has a fat burner in it. So the NCT is burning fat as it's going through your system with the capsules. And what that does is it makes it really easy to get up in the morning. If you want to fast, take your 2 NCT capsules, maybe have a cup of coffee if you want, and then you can go all the way till noon without getting those cravings like, gosh, I want that donut, man. Somebody brought donuts to work. I want to eat one of those.
Yeah.
Your cravings will be diminished very, very much. And also what it does, and I just had a new customer using it that she said she's always had high cortisol levels.
Mhm.
And cortisol causes stress, and stress causes us to eat things we should not eat.
And to hang on to fat as well.
Yes. And 5 days of her taking the NCT capsules and powder, her cortisol, she said for the first time in 5 months, had dropped 30 points. She was at about 100 and now it's at 70 just by using her NCT. And she's like, I can't tell you how much it's changed me. So those are a couple ways. And then the one midday, the NCT powder, that's the one that can take you all the way till dinner time without eating, if you want to, or eating less. And that's why sometimes at dinner, I'm not really hungry. And so I just listen to my body. If my body says I'm hungry, I eat until I'm not hungry. If my body's not hungry, I don't eat. So get really in tune with just how you feel like, when you're hungry and you're like, I need to eat something. Well, eat, and then eat as close to the F of fancy, that list of foods, as possible. Like if you're like, man, this is going to be tough for me because I'm always putting stuff in my mouth, get a 12 eggs and hard boil them and put them in the fridge. Hard boiled eggs. That's a quick throw in your mouth, knock one of those down with some salt. And then you're okay. I'm good now. I'm good. I can keep going. So hopefully
Okay,
that
so
answers your question.
yeah, and one more thing, just because I'm super sensitive to caffeine, there are formulas. The Cinnamalo has no cap, so I had to
Sure.
play with that. So again, everybody's different. Play with it, see what your body. If you're caffeine sensitive, you might want to just start, with half. The peach. I've not tried the watermelon. Mick, do you do the watermelon drink at all?
I do that one. I've actually got all 3 just for different flavors. Sometimes in the evening, I used to be a drinker of alcohol. So in the evenings, I'd be drinking, barbecue and drinking beer.
Yeah.
And I don't consume alcohol anymore. So in the evenings, if I turn into my lazy boy for the evening to wind down before bed, I'll make a Cinnamalo and sip on that, and no caffeine, and I sleep really good. And while I'm sleeping, it's burning fat in my body, which is a good thing.
Dorian says, so I take it you can eat barbecue. And I would just go back to know what's in that barbecue sauce. A lot of barbecue is filled with sugar. And that's not your friend on this situation. So again, I think it makes it really hard to follow something if you're like restricting yourself. And I've kind of come to like think about this as food as fuel versus food as like happy. Like, I don't know, it's just a little bit of a mind shift right now for my 90 days that I'm going to fuel my body with healthier things. So I'm constantly making choices about what is better for me, because I feel like if I'm going to give this a go, I want to really do it. So again, do what you need to do. And if you're out and about, I know some people like Joe Rogan is like, well, I think the perfect thing is to do 6 days on, 1 day off. I'm not saying that, but if it's too restrictive and you're not going to do it, do what's right for you. Would you echo that, Mick?
Yes, right back to find your jam.
Yep.
And hey, Dorian, I see you, bro. That Kansas barbecue. Now, if you're talking the method of cooking, barbecue's fine. Now, if you're dumping Sweet Baby Ray's on there, buddy, that's not good. I'm not saying it don't taste good.
Yeah.
I'm with you. And their jerky is too, but no, if you just try it with salt. I mean, even my son, he's been watching me, and dad's belly's gone and stuff. And he's like, you're crazy. And then the other day he came down and he's like, hey, I'm hungry. I'm like, well, dinner's in 3 hours. Can you wait? He goes, no, I'm hungry. And I said, you want to try some of my frozen chicken wings in the air fryer? He goes, yeah, I'll try them. So I take these frozen chicken wings out and I lay them in the air fryer. And all I did is put this Redmond real salt on both sides. I fried those babies up and they came out just crunchy, golden. And then I put some more Redmond salt and I hand him the plate, and he comes down and he brings it back to me, and just a pile of bones. He's like, man, those were good, Dad. And all as they had was salt on them. That's it.
Right. That was my first fancy meal, was the chicken wings in the Ninja Foodie, which I got because you told me to, but I did try that. I loved it. I don't usually eat chicken skin. Like, I've been taught that's horrible. So I did eat it though. It was crispy and delicious. So I don't know, just be open to changes, guys.
Yeah, you don't want to go skinless on your chicken, you guys.
Oh.
And that's what I've done for years. Boneless, skinless chicken breasts.
Yep.
You want skin on because the fat is in the skin. And in this game, fat is your friend. That's how you're going to heal, getting more fat.
Yep. So Roberta says, I can't give up coffee. I usually put milk in my coffee. Are you saying we can use heavy cream? Yes, we are saying that. We're saying that is the better option, because in this diet, fat is your friend, and you want to have as much quality good fat, fat that you can. So heavier cream instead of skim milk, right? Better. And just do what better is right for you. But yeah, heavy cream Mick has in the FANSC protocol.
And you know what, Carrie, I think it's important to address to Roberta. You said, can I use milk? You can do whatever you want. You can use the Coffee Mate French vanilla, 80 grams of sugar stuff if you want to. It's up to you. You find your jam. Now, will you get as good of results doing that? No, you won't. So, figure out the things that you can't give up and the things that you can. And the closer you get to the mark of the outline of the FANSC Diet protocol, the better your results are going to be.
Let's see. Valerie says Primal products are low carb mayo buffalo sauce. Yep, Primal products, good thing to look at. What else? Oh, I was going to say too, I've been studying the microbiome for a few years, and your microbiome is actually going to change. When you stop feeding the critters that want sugar, you'll stop wanting sugar. It's fascinating. So let your critters in your gut change, and they will tell you what's good for your body. You know what I'm saying?
And you know what, Carrie, I think on that post I put yesterday about side effects and getting started, I think that word is in there.
Yep. Yeah,
I'm learning so much.
Yeah.
I'm just like this big sponge. Like at night I'd go, and before bed I'd watch some YouTube bass fishing videos. And now all I'm watching is these doctors talking about this and what their patients are experiencing. I'm like, my gosh, we're going to help some people heal a lot of things.
Yeah. It's exciting. And, also you might want to arm yourself with your doctor if you're going to talk to your doctor about this. There's some really good documents to share with your doctor and information. So, like for me, I just said, hey, to my doctor, I'm going to be doing this keto carnivore diet for 90 days, and I'm going to see what my results are. She's not a cardiologist, but my cardiologist thinks that statins belong in the water, and I just don't. They're related to dementia, what I've researched, and some of the statin information is not very good. So I've been told a lot of things that I don't know that are true in the traditional medical situation in big pharma. So do the research for yourself. There's plenty of it out there.
Hey, we've got like 10 minutes left, so
Okay.
keep the questions coming. And then also, if any of you have been on the FANSC diet protocol for a few weeks or whatever, and you've already got, well, Carrie's 5 days and what'd you say, 7 or 8 pounds?
7, yeah, 7.
If you've got a result already, type that in there too. We'd love to hear what
Yeah.
happened. And keep in mind, sometimes when we start something like this that's so different than what we're accustomed to, sometimes you have to feel worse before you feel better.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Your body's got to adapt and adjust and detox. A lot of times when people go, I started this and man, I got diarrhea, good. It's getting all that crap out of you you've been eating, all those jelly donuts and the Lay's potato chips. And it's not a bad thing. It's
Right.
your body doing what God designed it to do, heal itself. But
Right.
we can't heal with the body God's given us if we're putting, Pop Tarts and ice cream and Krispy Kreme donuts in it all the time. It won't work.
Yeah.
You guys
It's
get this?
inflammatory. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about intermittent fasting. Will that bring me more success? That's from John. So go ahead, Mick, on that.
John, it did me. My personal story is the first 2 weeks, I ate 1 meal a day every day. And I will say I could have never achieved that without NCT. There's no way I would have eaten. I would have eaten stuff. So with NCT, it made it really simple for me to eat once every 24 to 25 hours, 26 hours, depending. Our dinner here in the house is usually from 5 to 8. So there's a 3-hour variable there, depending on mom's schedule, kids' activities, and life. So I would fast anywhere from, let's say 23 to 26 hours. And when it was time to eat, man, I ate like a beast. And I just ate. Here's what I learned from Dr. Chaffee. Eat until it stops tasting good. I don't care if your plate's not finished. Put it in the fridge for leftovers. When it stops tasting good, that's your body's way of telling you you are full, you are satiated, you're good to go. Don't keep eating. Just when it stops tasting good. So in my deal is I'd eat, that time, and then I go to bed between 9 to 10 each night. And man, I'm going to bed with all that good quality whole food, all the nutrients in my gut. And then I'm getting good sleep and my body's healing itself, man, and digesting that. It's just it works really good. And I think most of my excess fat off of my belly, mine was all belly.
Yeah.
It came off, the majority of it, in that first 2 weeks of fasting and having 1 meal a day and drinking lots of water. It doesn't have to be this water. This is easy. I get it at Costco. It's 9.5 pH. And then I add electrolytes to it. So you can just do as simple as a teaspoon of this Redmond real salt, or any good salt. It doesn't have to be this brand. A teaspoon in your water twice a day. That's going to give you all the electrolytes your body needs to be eating this way.
A couple more questions. Can I jump in here with that?
Yep.
Are there any doctors who talk about using this diet with heart disease? Yeah. There's the one that.
Oh, tons.
Yeah. I guess it's the first guy that you mentioned.
Dr. Ken Berry.
Dr. Ken Berry has
Go
all.
to YouTube and then go to his channel and put heart disease in the search bar and it'll come right up.
There's also a vascular surgeon who talks about getting off statins and why he did this. So lots of information there.
And a tip is, be sure, of course, listen to what Doc says. Read the comments, because the patients, his patients are in there. I started this 4 months ago and XYZ happened. I started this 9 months ago and XYZ. I started this 4 years ago XYZ. It'll blow your mind. You'll never want to eat any other way than this way. Seriously.
Anna says, if I have to take my thyroid medication first thing in the morning, which I do too, by the way, Anna, is it okay to take NCT 30 minutes after? Yeah, absolutely. Medications, you guys, do your medications around this. I think it's important not to make too many changes at once. So
Yeah.
don't mix up, don't just go off medications. That's never a good idea. But yeah.
And everyone's different on the caffeine thing. Like I take the NCT, about an hour later, I have 1 cup of coffee.
Mhm.
And then at noon, I take my NCT powder, and that works. That's mixed jam. It works.
Yep.
I'm not going to change it. If it's not broken, I'm not going to try and fix it. It works for me really well.
Yep.
But that's just me. So
Yeah.
some people might say, man, I was coming out of my skin after I took that and had coffee. Then you're going to have to either not have the coffee or have 1 NCT capsule instead of 2.
Mhm.
Find your jam. That's my word for that. Find your jam. It's so important because God made each one of us a unique masterpiece. There's no 2 of us alike in the whole world.
Mhm.
So what works for me might not work for Fish. Hey, Fish, what up? And vice versa. So just find your jam and then use this community of fancy lifestyle. That's not Mick Karshner's group, Fancy Lifestyle. That's your group. So participate in there, engage, ask questions. If you had a rough time, share it and let's get some help. If you had a good day, share it. Let's say, yeah, let's encourage one another, man. We didn't get this way overnight, so it's not going to go away overnight. I mean, the results I had are pretty darn staggering, but I'm kind of an extremist.
Mhm.
If I'm going to do something, I do it by the book, and that's what I did, and it worked. I did miss 5 days though of my walking during that 30-day period. So I wanted to walk 30 days in a row, but because of travel and stuff, I walked 25, which is still pretty dang good.
Yeah, I'd say.
But get as close to the mark as you can.
And one
Any
thing
other
I noticed,
questions?
with my walking too is I didn't have a lot of energy when I was fasting originally. So just maybe adjust your walk to maybe in the afternoon. I don't know. That's just how it was for me. I just, didn't feel when I first started fasting like I had a lot of energy. So again, just be gentle with yourself. Let's see. Luke says, I've been intermittent fasting 16/8 for a week, started FANSC 5 days ago. Energy levels are up. I've only dropped a few pounds, but I'm occupying less space. Love handles are shrinking. Headaches, increased salt and water. Yeah, headaches could be a thing. So increasing salt and water, absolutely.
Yes.
And again, the scale isn't the whole thing. It's basically how's your body changing, right? And I would encourage all of you to take your before and afters like Mick did. So, and then also notice how your clothes are fitting, because the scale isn't the only measure here.
That's kind of, I've noticed. So I got to 190 and I was thinking I needed to be 185, but I'm adding muscle now. So instead of continuing to go down from where I started, like 215, I'm just holding about 190, but visually, like in the mirror, I'm seeing lines and stuff I didn't see before. Like I'm getting cut from eating this way. And I only started doing the weights, on day 31, because this next 30, I'm doing weights.
Yeah.
So I can have okay, here's 60 days what happened after adding weights to it. So I think I'll probably stay about 6'1", 190, because I'm adding muscle and muscle weighs. So
yeah,
like Carrie said, don't take the scale too seriously. Like, I mean, it's part of it, but it's the way you feel, the way your clothes fit. Like this t-shirt, it's been in the closet and I couldn't wear it because it was too small, because I wear XL normally. This is a large. Man, it fits perfect. I'm like,
okay, guys, I've got couple more things and then we're going to wrap this up. Valerie says, Dr. Berry discusses cholesterol. He's more concerned about having low triglycerides and high HDL. He's okay with LDL being between 120 and 250, which your doctor will faint about. Yeah. So again,
Yeah.
check out Dr. Berry. Let's see. Someone asked about.
It's a different way of thinking.
Yeah.
But if you listen to his podcasts about that, his videos, he brings up a valid point because he goes to this chart and talks about what they're saying on this chart and what the truth is. And so,
somebody asked, what do you do about sugar cravings when you're wanting
NCT? If you're on NCT, you shouldn't have them.
Yeah.
And if you say, well, I'm on NCT and I still have sugar cravings, take more NCT.
Yeah, I think it'll go away. Yeah, it goes away pretty quickly. When you start eating this way, I think the sweet cravings go away.
It was like that when I gave up alcohol, because alcohol just converts to sugar when you drink it.
Right.
When I gave up alcohol, man, I was like Oreo cookies, Fig Newton, Snickers bars, peanut M&M. But that's all behind me now. NCT curbs all that. And I just feel so good eating this way.
And I noticed you eat butter. And so like, that's like your cheesecake. So I know that's a big jump for you guys. I have tried to take, when I was like, feeling like I wanted a little sweet, you can do grass-fed butter and you can just take it take it in your mouth and let it melt, it is.
And it's got to be cold, like out of the fridge, hard.
Okay.
And just get a piece of that, put a little Redmond's real salt on it. Oh man, it's really good. I kind of want a pat of butter right now. And it's good fat. It's so good for you.
All right. Well, guys, I want to thank you. I'll hand it back to Mick. Thanks for your great questions and testimonials. Appreciate you guys. And I'll hand it back to you, Mick, to close out.
Thank you, Carrie, for helping. This was awesome. And thank you everyone for hopping on here, and congratulations on making your health a priority. Because seriously, without it, I don't care if you got millions of dollars in the bank. If you're unhealthy, you're done, man. It doesn't matter. You can't buy your health back with your money. You have to take action and do something about it. And those of you on here, you are. And those of you watching this replay that are following this, you are. So I want to give you a hand, because it's not easy. It's way easier just to observe what the masses do and do the same thing. Go to McDonald's, go to Starbucks. It's life as we know it. So those of us here, we're some early adopters in the new way to get healthy following this FANSC diet. So proud of each and every one of you. I'm going to be praying for you that you stay strong and stick to it. And you don't have to be perfect. Let's just make progress a little bit each day. All right. God bless y'all. If you have any questions, get in that group and ask them. Thank you again, Carrie.
You're welcome.
That was awesome. I appreciate you, and I appreciate all of you. And you guys have a wonderful Saturday. God bless.